Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Well, welcome back to the Headspace and Tasting Podcast, where we talk manhood, tell stories, and discuss the stuff that matters to us, one sip at a time. Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon, Kevin. Or good evening now, right?
Yeah. What do you know?
Not much. I know that. I know what I don't know. So I guess I'm blessed there.
Right.
Today is the anniversary of the Berlin Wall coming down, right?
No, being built.
Being built. That's what we're...
Yeah, 1961.
See? I don't know. 1961, on this date, is when the Russians put their tanks online, and then we put our tanks online in response, and we watched them lay the first cinder blocks. It's a really wild video to see it, because it was recorded.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
My father was in Germany at the time, and was part of the convoy that had to go from West Germany through East Germany to, I guess it was Checkpoint Charlie. Was that where they were building that right there?
Well,
Like
there were
right
more
in the
than
middle
one
of Berlin?
checkpoint. There was more than one, but Checkpoint Charlie was the most famous.
That's the famous one? Okay,
Yeah.
so they went into Berlin. I don't think he made it to Berlin because the convoy was so long. He was just like sleeping in the back of a truck or something. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I don't remember how many miles over Berlin is inside East Germany from West Germany. I want to say it was 100, 150 miles.
Yeah.
And then the only way from West Germany you can get to West Berlin was through, I think, 4 designated autobahns. That was it. They were not allowed to go off those paths at all, stay on them, start to finish. And, you know, for those that don't know, during the post-World War II era Cold War, that was in full swing at that point. Berlin was segregated into different occupation zones, and half of it, which was the eastern part, was all the Soviet Union, today Russia. And then the other blocks on the west were divided between the United States, Britain, and France. Right? Just 3 of them?
I
United
believe
States,
so.
Britain, and France.
Yeah. This is pre-UN, right?
The UN already existed.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, but those were the different occupation zones. Maybe
Yeah.
by then it was, you know, the NATO.
NATO, that's what I was thinking.
NATO existed in 61, so it could have been
Pre-NATO.
just NATO. But that's how it was originally. It was designated in those occupation sectors, and that's how those autobahns ran.
So there was like one going to each sector?
I think so.
Okay.
To get in there.
My knowledge of the Cold War is like Back to the Future and Rocky. And, you know, a little bit Reagan, he was kind of what the kids today would call a meme at that point. Because he was losing his mind. I think he had Alzheimer's by then or something. But
yeah, he admitted to that after he left, wrote a letter to the Americans. But, you know, when that opener of our show, he gave that speech in 1987. I was 17 years old.
17, yeah.
So, you know, there is a lot to say about my belief system today and how I think about politics and things, because, you know, my most influential part of my life, which is your teen years, obviously, was all Ronald Reagan. You know, from age of 10 to the age of 18.
Yeah.
It was all Ronald Reagan. So there's a lot I remember about that.
Yeah, I was born in 79, so I was 8 years old when this, and so I'm just picking boogers and running through the streets like a maniac, you know. And like I said, you know, MTV came out, and looking back on that MTV time, they were making fun of Reagan, and now it's like the bias was, you can see it as a I don't know, left-wing bias in media against Reagan. I remember one music video in particular. Who sings that song? It was, "This is the world we live in." But they had puppets. It was Gorbachev and Reagan. They were fighting each other like
I don't remember.
like Rocky in the ring. But I think Reagan ends up winning. But not sure.
Remember. I mean, there's something to be said about music helping to win the Cold War.
For sure. You remember the Metallica concert?
Yep.
A lot of people think that was a CIA operation, which I'm sure they were involved in it. I mean, there was over 1 million people at that concert.
Blue Jeans
Blue
was
Jeans?
part of the downfall of communism.
Yeah, they used to. It was like a black market for blue jeans over there.
Used to smuggle them in.
Yep, and Western music was a big deal. Cassettes, I guess, back then, right? So it really upped the tension levels in Germany, right? When Russia started building the wall.
It sure did.
Because before, like we were talking before the show started, there used to just be a single strand of concertina wire, and people would just hop over it and be free. And they were sick of doing that. And I'm sure there was a lot of people killed trying to cross over. So they started to build this wall, and it was a very big deal. Tensions were very high.
Yeah, the defection rate was way too high. They couldn't handle that anymore. They had to. There is so much to the Cold War. We could probably end up having a long show with the Cold War. Just our little snippets of what we knew growing up.
So where's this in the timeline of the Cuban Missile Crisis?
This came up in 1961. It was 1963 was the Cuban Missile Crisis.
So that's part of the escalation of the Cold War.
Yeah, and
in the early 60s.
I don't know. Maybe if we're smart enough and have the internet in front of us, we can look. But it's either 1962 or 1963 that President Kennedy was in front of the Berlin Wall.
Okay.
And he made the famous line, "Ich bin ein Berliner."
That's right.
And
that was my German teacher in high school brought that up as, like, when she was a young girl and she saw that, she said, "I have to go to America." And that was her defining moment. Like, I have to get out of here and go to America.
Yeah, and then it wasn't again until President Reagan stood in front of the wall and made the famous statement to tear it down.
Kennedy visited Berlin June 26, 1963.
Okay, so
Ich bin ein Berliner. And I remember our German teacher corrected him. It would just be Ich bin Berliner, not ein. So he said, "I am one Berliner." You know, something like that.
Well, maybe that's what he wanted to say.
It wasn't grammatically correct according to the Germans, but they forgave him. They loved him for it. Okay. So then I guess I could look up Bay of Pigs. 'Cause that was definitely like a proxy.
That was thing. Right after Kennedy came into office.
Right.
So it was probably 1961.
Yeah. 1961, April 1961.
Yep.
So this is like the beginning of these proxy wars that were kind of popping up, little conflicts in South Central America, East Asia, because everybody was vying for position strategically across the globe.
Well, honestly, it was really kicking off right after the end of World War II.
Yeah.
You had the Civil War in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
That was communists against everyone else, and that's when President Truman said, "Oh, ain't no way." And then we did our part along with, our allies to support the Greek government to keep the communists from taking over. And then obviously Korea hit in 1950.
Yeah.
Again, trying to expand communism, and then you had China. The Chinese Civil War was still going on, and
China wouldn't have gotten involved in Korea if MacArthur would have behaved himself.
Right, don't go right.
Yeah.
And then, the nationalists in China fled to Thailand, or Taiwan.
Taiwan, yeah.
Sorry, Taiwan, and that still exists today, and that's why the Chinese today are building, the Spratly Islands and everything else around there and expanding the South China Sea and making it all their territory because they want to completely engulf and, swallow up Taiwan.
There was just a big, the Chinese Coast Guard got into a little dust up with the Philippine Coast Guard, and then two Chinese ships ran into each other. That caused major damage.
To both ships.
Yeah.
Yeah. Major hull damage.
What the heck is going on there, man?
In the Philippines.
Navy
got away free, their Coast Guard.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yep.
It's almost like the same things they've continued, and now it's getting more Cold War-ish again, right?
Yeah, except with a different belligerent.
Yeah,
And that would be China.
Or us, whichever way you want to look at it.
Well, I mean, we mentioned it before. We have placed ourselves in a position of being the policeman of the world.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Because there's nobody else that could step up and, even on an equal level,
No, not even close.
do it. The Chinese can't do it yet. I mean, they're just throwing money and they're going broke.
Yeah, that's why they need Taiwan, they need Vietnam.
But the thing about the Chinese is, our foreign policy changes by president every 4 to 8 years.
Yeah.
We can't seem to maintain a standard foreign policy.
Yeah, they just wait us out.
The Cold War, I think, was the last time we had a good foreign policy program. Everyone had a common enemy and a purpose.
Yeah.
And ever since then, it's been all over the place.
The pendulum's swinging way too far.
Yeah. Whereas the Chinese, they have a 1,000-year view of everything. So they're okay with not having Taiwan yet. They just know they're going to have it.
Yeah, we're going to get it eventually.
At some point. It might be 500 years from now, but they're going to have it.
Yep.
Or maybe 3 years from now, depending on who you believe.
Well, so with the Cold War, what was life like as a 17-year-old or just a teenager during the mid to late 80s?
Well, I mean, we were already past the stage of the 50s when they were doing the duck and cover under school desks for nuke attacks and things like that. We're way past that at that point.
Yeah.
But the potential for a threat for nuclear war was very real.
Well, I guess at that point it was mutually assured destruction because the arsenal was so huge.
It was, and Reagan came in and he set out almost immediately to modernize our nuclear force. And there's two sides of this. And you can kind of see it with today's military and with President Trump and what's going on with the DOD, is wherein Reagan was in a heavy period of intense retooling of the United States military because it just fell apart after Vietnam.
Yeah.
And, the budgets were dropped and all this. And all we're doing is doing what we can to sustain. The performance of the soldiers weren't any good. Things were broken, on and on and on. And Reagan comes in and says, oh, no, we're going to revitalize the U.S. military.
Yeah. And we got the M1 Abrams tank.
Yes.
The Bradley fighting vehicle.
The Apache helicopter.
And probably, the F-16 or F-15s? Were those?
Probably.
One of those two, I'm thinking. Or maybe an F-18.
The F-117 was already in development.
Yeah.
The B-1 bomber we got at that time. He wanted the 600-ship Navy and was able to achieve the 600-ship Navy. They pulled the USS Missouri and I think New Jersey out of mothballs and actually participated in, Desert Storm.
Yeah.
Which was their last action. Well, they were also in Lebanon when we did the occupation there. The New Jersey, I think, was launching shells into Lebanon. But so you had all this stuff going on. He's also modernizing the nuke force. He had the Minuteman nuclear missile, and then he was coming up with Star Wars missile defense systems. And he took the what was the intermediate nuclear missile? He put it in Europe, which freaked everybody out.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, he was one of the commanders of those units.
Really?
It's going to drive me crazy.
Didn't they have something called there was some weird stuff too back, like recoilless rifles with nuclear rounds that were on the Jeeps, and then you had nuclear mortars.
Yeah, they tried all that stuff throughout the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
I don't think they actually went into the 60s with that. I think most of it was 40s, 50s. They were testing everything.
Oh, okay. So,
and, I can't remember the missile they put in Europe under Reagan, but I mean, it got so intense that you had everyone in the NATO countries were protesting. The Germans were protesting. They wanted the nukes out of their country. And the Russians were doing the same thing. They were upping their ante real quick on all of their missiles. And the difference between the U.S. and Soviet missiles is ours were in bunkers.
Right.
And almost all of theirs were on mobile missile launchers because they understood that we can reach them.
The Pershing 2s.
Thank you, Pershing.
Ground-launched cruise missile.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who commanded those. So, I mean, there was a lot going on, and nuclear war was front and center.
Yeah.
And they started coming up with all these movies about it. You had The Day After, which was huge, the made-for-TV movie. And then, Red Dawn came out in 1986. Yeah. I was 16. That was also the first PG-13 movie for you trivia buffs. And, there was, you had Rambo popping in there, and some others, and the song 99 Red Balloons, and a couple other anti-war type songs are all starting to pop up into the pop culture. And that was me as a teenager. I mean, we thought, you can die in the next 30 minutes. And we used to laugh, what are you going to do when the sirens go off? Or we're just going to go outside and,
watch.
Yeah, wait. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a crazy time. But at the same time, Reagan had a purpose. He was doing this. One, he wanted to defeat the Soviet Union economically. He knew that they couldn't keep up. And so we're just going to wear them out with our economy.
Yeah, we tripled our national debt during this time, during Reagan's presidency.
And the U.S. budget, or the military budget, more than likely.
Yeah.
At that same time. And then so all this is going on, and while all this is going on, he's using all this as leverage, and he's meeting with the different Soviet premiers because they all kept dying because they're old men, and you had one right after the other until you got to Gorbachev, and he's trying to sign all these peace deals to bring down the number of nuclear weapons and remove them from certain countries, and so he had a purpose of what he was going to do, and he wanted to win the Cold War instead of letting it go. Yeah. And, he did it.
Well, America in general, as a country, we don't do too well with just sitting idle and we're just going to exist here. Like the Europeans, they're just, this is our history. We have this culture. And that's a lot of people say America has no culture or whatever. Yeah, we do. It's called war. That's our culture. We have a warrior culture here. And westward expansion and, global dominance, however you feel about that, good or bad. But
it's not that we, war is our strength or that we like it. We're just really freaking good at it.
Yeah.
And, when you get us in the right mood, we're really, really good at it.
Right. So there are...
But, the bottom line is what has been our history is the economic powerhouse.
Yes.
And, even in the midst of our crumbling so-called economy and debt today, we're still an economic powerhouse.
Right. Yeah, I think the tariff numbers came out just a little while ago, didn't they? And they were like, everybody was so shocked and surprised that all these countries, to use a phrase, bent the knee to us. Like, okay, well, I think they knew they were getting over on us for so long, and now they were like, all right, we caught our hand in the cookie jar.
Sure.
We'll play a game. We'll play. But he did extend the tariffs on China for another 60 days, I think, right?
Trump, right?
Yeah. The tariff deadline. But when you have a president who has a vision, is going to be a polarizing person, it's going to be strong feelings both way, love or hate. But our country seems to do better that way for some reason. It just feels like we're not in a malaise.
I kind of get a sense of when you suddenly start to see a lot of protests from one side, I get the sense that whoever the powers that be are at that moment, they're doing something right. Okay. And that's why you're getting so much protest.
Even with Barack Obama and the Tea Party?
Well, I didn't get to finish my sentence.
Oh, okay.
Or they're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so it depends on which side of the aisle you're on, I guess, and that's the frustrating thing about American politics, that it's left and right.
Right. And I remember, 1989. So President Reagan's out. President Bush got elected. George W. And
Read my lips.
he was the one that the Berlin Wall came down under his watch, but everyone credited with Ronald Reagan with the driving force to actually put that to an end. And when that came down and the reunification of Germany, I mean, I remember, even as a 19-year-old, I mean, that was huge news. And you just thought, you really couldn't, it wasn't a physical, but you could tell that there was that pressure.
The whole world
was removed.
Was celebrating.
And you thought, oh, this is it. We don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
And then, 10 years later, you got to worry about it again.
Yeah. But we had the Gulf War before then. And the Gulf War brought apart, right?
Well, the Gulf War happened in 1991.
1991.
Yeah, after the fall of Berlin Wall.
After the fall of Berlin.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember, like, the first time we put the TV in the dining room when we're having dinner was we were watching the constant it was like 24-hour news of the Berlin Wall being, the people walking up with hammers and breaking off pieces, and somebody bring a tractor out and pull down a whole section or whatever. And then, they were all partying and kissing each other, and people going over to switching sides, going to, I guess, reunify with their families because they'd been separated for so long.
And I can't remember how quick it was after the fall of the Berlin Wall, or if it was right before. No, it was right after, because Soviet troops and German troops were still there, and you just see them all convoy away. Kind of like how they left Afghanistan. They just convoyed out.
So I was still really young when the Berlin Wall came down, 1989. So I'm 10 years old. I'm barely conscious of what's going on outside of soccer practice or whatever. And I do remember just thinking, like, wow, that's something big's happening. Like that's it looks like a good party. And then, so the Russian Federation, the Soviet Union, fell apart completely. You had revolutions happening all over, civil wars. Romania came to mind, was like the most violent one, and
right.
Czechoslovakia broke apart, and like didn't they stay together for a little bit and then they split?
Well, again, I mean, that's credit to Ronald Reagan, because he knew that we can defeat them economically, and so they just could not keep up militarily, and that's where all their budget was going, and then their whole economy just fell apart, and that's what killed the Soviet Union. And then you had all these different breakaway republics, which, again, today, this is a result of the breakaway republics and a country called Russia, who is trying to recover what they lost over the years, and here they are fighting in Ukraine.
Yeah, because when was when they were in Afghanistan, was late 70s, right?
Yeah, they rolled in there in 79. Yeah, because that's when President Carter was in office, and he boycotted the Summer Olympics. And then they rolled out in 1987 or 88.
Yeah, they had a really rough time over there.
Yeah, again, it was right around all of it was their collapse was happening all around at the same time.
Yeah, Poland had a big uprising, a big solidarity movement, and they were putting more and more pressure on them. And Russia, they had to keep putting more resources to it that they couldn't afford to be doing.
Yeah, and I can't remember the name of the man who led that.
Let me see if I can find it.
And he was just a trade boss, or like a factory worker.
Yeah.
Union guy. But again, there was that Clint Eastwood movie where he snuck in behind enemy lines into the Soviet Union to steal their new warfighter.
Oh, yeah.
And, stole it from the Soviet Union. forget. I mean, that's
I don't
another good
remember
one
that
too.
Well, like I said, I was young, super young, 10 years old, and you don't even know what's going on.
Right. I mean, and see, this is this is how it's a Gen X
Mm-hmm.
drifting into today's world,
Right.
and people just aren't. They don't. We are. People are embracing what we fought to get rid of today,
Yeah.
and it's pretty scary. And only because the younger generations just have no clue what it was. Like, you can go into a grocery store. Let's say you're going to go into Deerberg's right now, or Schnucks, and you go back because you need to get some meat,
Mm-hmm.
and you see 2 packs of ground beef and maybe a lamb chop, and that's it. And, that's all you're allowed to see. All the shelves were like that throughout all of communist Europe and the
Mm-hmm.
Soviet Union. That was normal. And we constantly had abundance. And, we knew the difference because we saw the difference all the time, and we were constantly reminded of it. And today, everyone's growing up with abundance,
Yeah.
and that's all they know.
And they think it's excess. They want to fight against the excess, or that it's.
I don't know that they want to fight against excess. I think they think that, well, this is what we get, and
Oh, okay. So entitlement.
this is normal,
Okay.
and we need more, and all the rich people have too much money, and we need their money.
Mm. Yeah, then that, like the Soviet Revolution started over there.
It right. I mean, there are so many parallels.
Yeah. So then the Gulf War, that was a big thing for me. 91, because I'm getting in, my teen years almost, and I remember watching that, and you got to see all this firepower that Reagan built up over those years. You saw it in action, and how devastating it was against the Russian equipment that the Iraqis had. Because what were they driving, T-60s or something?
They had 74s.
T-74.
Mm-hmm.
And all Russian equipment, Russian ammunition, and we just sliced through them like a hot knife through butter.
Mm-hmm. But if I can go back real quick,
Yeah.
part of that growth of getting the U.S. military out of its malaise post-Vietnam, Reagan was on point with that. And, here I am as a teenager, and I'm being influenced about the rebirth of the U.S. military.
Yeah.
And suddenly you went from everyone afraid to wear a uniform to being proud to see someone in a uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one year, I want to say it was 1985 maybe, there was a magazine called U.S. News and World Report.
Okay.
It doesn't exist anymore. It was a weekly news magazine. The U.S. military made the cover for the respect that the people had for the U.S. military.
Oh, okay.
One year, the person of the year on Time magazine was the U.S. Army.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people were rebuilding the respect of the military during that period of time. I mean, I went to basic training in 1988, so 18 years old, and Reagan is still in office when I'm in boot camp.
Oh, okay.
And I distinctly remember about the changes, and there were some things he did. You were talking about all these little micro wars and things like that, and conflicts that we were doing. Well, you think about it, Reagan, we didn't do much.
Iran-Contra.
Well, that's not a conflict, but we didn't do much as a country militarily post Vietnam. We tried to stay out. We did a few things, but nothing.
Yeah, when was Grenada? Was that Reagan?
That was Reagan, 1983. So let me back up one. So Reagan decided he wants to start flexing the U.S. military a little bit because he's trying to get some pride built back up into them. Mm-hmm. So he sends us into Europe, not into Europe, into Lebanon. Then you had the Beirut issue, and you had the truck bomber go in there, the suicide bomber, kill 300 Marines. Mm-hmm. And then it was shortly after that, we invaded Grenada. And some people would say that was a deflection point to get people off the bed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we go into Grenada. I knew somebody who was a ranger who airborned in for that, went to ROTC with them. And anyway, so, we had this quick, easy victory in Grenada. Everybody can bump fists and stuff like that. And then you have Panama.
Yeah.
Well, Panama was Bush.
That was Bush.
What else happened under Reagan? Oh, you had us flying the F-111 bombers from England all the way down to bomb Libya against Muammar Gaddafi, and take out some oil rigs and some shipping and stuff like that. We did that a couple times with the Iranians. I still have newspaper clippings on this stuff. Iran-Contra. So before that, you had the communist rebels. The incursions were going all over the place in Central America.
Mm-hmm.
El Salvador was a big one. Panama was a big one. Honduras, Nicaragua.
Yeah.
And so he was sending U.S. Special Forces into all them to help fight against all those. And it didn't come out till much later, but we literally were fighting in El Salvador.
Yeah.
And you had things we were trying to figure out how to get funding into, and then you had Colonel North, and all that, and how we were selling arms and doing the money on those trade deals to get the money down and funneling arms down into Central America.
Selling drugs too, bringing drugs back from Central America and selling them on American streets.
Yep, there was a little bit of that, and then you had us funding the Mujahideen.
Yeah.
In Afghanistan against the Soviet Union.
Charlie Wilson.
And and we were willing to give them our SARS missile anti-aircraft systems to take out their helicopters and jet planes, which was highly successful.
Yeah. And we trained bin Laden on how to lead a revolution, and
we ended up fighting them later.
Yeah, and we do that quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot happened in my teen years when it had to do with communism and what needed to take place. There was spy stuff going on.
So we had the U-2 spy plane was shot down when Kennedy was president, right?
Yeah.
But there was other incidents where agents were snatched in East Berlin, and then they would do exchanges of agents. You had a lot of sleeper cell Soviets here that were trained to be Americans and have an American accent and everything and just blend in, and one day they'd get called up to do something.
There's a recent movie that's actually really good about all that, and it's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie.
It is.
About all that. And
there's a show on FX called The Americans that's really good too.
Then you got James Bond with Roger Moore when he had to deactivate the nuclear bomb that was on the circus train coming from East Germany into West Germany.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there was just so much going on. It was in front of our faces every single day.
Huh.
Nuclear annihilation was just always right in front of our faces, and you learned to live with it, but you knew it was there. Sometimes I think it's worse today, even though we were in the height of it then.
Yeah, it's
because
probably a more real threat today than
it's so rogue.
Yeah, you could get, we had back after 9/11, it was the big dirty bomb scare. And, they kind of used that as an excuse to go into Iraq, that they had yellow cake uranium they could sell to Al-Qaeda.
Well, and the technology is so advanced now that, you and I, we can probably figure out how to build a nuke in some way, or at least a dirty nuke.
Yeah, if we had the material.
Yeah. We could probably do it.
Yeah.
And we're not saying we're doing it.
No.
So don't bother us.
I found that guy's, the Polish guy, Polish Solidarity Movement. I don't know how to say this name. Lech Walesa. Lech. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Lech Walesa.
Walesa. Okay.
Yeah. That was him.
Yeah, he was an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
So those years, when did we, because after the Soviet Union fell, then we had, it was basically a civil war in Bosnia-Herzegovina, right? When did that flare up real bad? That was the early 90s, right? 93?
Yes. Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So we had Panama.
Yeah, because it was Clinton. Clinton was in office at that point.
Yeah.
We took out the Yugo factory, which is probably the best thing we ever did. They were such dangerous cars. I had a friend of mine who owned one.
World.
You stopped at a stop sign on a hill. You couldn't the car couldn't go. So you all had to jump out while your buddy drove up to the top of the hill and you ran up and jumped in.
Yeah, I think my old babysitter had one. Anything else? Did any technology, like the disparity in technology between the United States and Soviet Union was crazy too, because you talk about like the Yugo, well, we're building Corvettes and, you know, Ford trucks and these things that are bulletproof. It was just huge differences, and everybody knew it, but the Soviets just wouldn't admit it.
There is some joke out there that Reagan gave in a speech sometime. I don't know any of the details about it, but there's a lot of truth in it, in which if you had the money saved to buy a car in the Soviet Union,
Mm-hmm.
you had to pay ahead of time, like you had a schedule, and you paid
Okay.
up front, but you didn't get your car delivered for like 8 years.
Because they didn't have the money to build it, so they were so far behind.
Or they were just so, I don't know what they were doing over there.
Huh.
I mean, there was just so many weird things.
Yeah. When did Chernobyl happen? That was Soviet time, right?
That was 80, was it the 80s or 90s?
No, it was definitely the 80s. 86.
86. So again, under
Right.
Ronald Reagan again.
Yeah. There was an HBO series about that.
Yeah.
And, man, scary as hell. So what were you thinking? Like, the news comes out that Chernobyl's melting down. I mean, as somebody following all that.
Well, so you didn't have 24-hour news in 1986.
Right.
So all you had was the 5 o'clock news, or you get the bulletin that would come across, or you had to find talk radio, which was just KMOX. I mean, that's all we had then. And then you had newspapers. I mean, that's how you were getting all your info.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a delay time a little bit. So you just had to wait for the
Soviets kept it secret for a while.
They did, but I mean, it came out real quick
Yeah.
because you couldn't. I mean, we monitor all that. You
Yeah.
see it in the
Well, I think we were
catch it.
picking up radioactive
satellites.
Well, we were like getting radioactive
Yeah.
in all of our sensors over there.
The reality was for us, it was touch and go, and there was a lot of angst about it. But here in the United States, it wasn't so much as Europe, because the cloud was
Yeah.
going more with Europe than would probably reach the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I mean, it was big news. You know, the odd thing about that, you know, they've been doing studies today. They still go back and do research and studies. There is a microbe or some kind of cellular fungus there that actually eats the radioactive material.
Oh.
And they're doing studies on that because it's actually eating away the radioactivity.
I wonder if the aliens came down and gave us a present or something.
I don't know. Maybe that's what that object is. That's coming here in 115 days. They're coming to get it back.
Yeah. I remember reading about giant wolves there. There's like weird. There's packs of these huge packs of wolves that run wild. They're boars that are, because it's just no people. There's no pressure. There's nothing there, and they just eat radioactive stuff and get huge.
So yeah, it was just a really wild time.
Mm-hmm.
Really wild. Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah, and you had that was the start of the war on drugs too, right? With the
Yep, that was our first drug czar under Ronald Reagan.
wasn't it his wife? Well, she was in charge of the DARE program. That's
She
when
did
that came
DARE.
out, right?
No, I don't remember the gentleman's name who was our first drug czar. But I mean that.
Probably a fascist.
You know, all you gotta do is watch the Tom Clancy movie, Clear and Present Danger, and you'll see there's quite a bit of truth. I mean, Tom Clancy, while it was all fiction, he put a lot of reality in what was going on in real life.
Yeah, there's a guy named Freeway Ricky Ross. He was the largest crack dealer in L.A., and he got arrested and was sent him away for life in prison. He didn't even know how to read, but he taught himself how to read and then started reading legal books and found a loophole in his case and got released from prison. And then he started talking. He's like, yeah, where do you think I was getting all this cocaine from? These guys from the government came and told me the whole business plan, told me how to do it, and I started making crack and selling it and became the richest guy. And, and he was just telling, like, all that conspiracy theory stuff you thought was just crazy people is true. They were really doing it.
At the same time under Reagan, that was also the height of all the plane hijackings.
Yeah, that's right. That was a big thing then, huh?
It was a huge thing. Or they would hijack the Achille Lauro cruise ship, hold everybody hostage until they got what they wanted.
Always Lebanese or something, right?
Yeah, or Iraqis.
Iraq, yeah.
Or Libyans, some Egyptians. And then you also had the airlines.
Libyans, that's what I meant to say.
You had the airline incidents. You had the Soviet Union shooting down the one 747 that was flying to Japan.
Yeah, it went like a little too close to their...
Well, some people your conspiracy theory seem to think that it was on a spy mission at the same time. Don't know.
Probably spraying chemtrails.
So you had that happen. That was huge. And then you had the Lockerbie bombing. That was Libyan.
Well,
that led to the airstrikes. Yeah, that was the airstrike stuff that we did after the Lockerbie bombing.
And that's when Reagan fired all the air traffic controllers?
Well, that was early on, right after he took office.
Oh, okay.
With their strike. And then you had the one plane, I think it was the 101st Airborne coming back from Lebanon.
Yep.
I think that's where they're coming back from.
From somewhere, yeah.
And, here it is. I think it's Christmas or Thanksgiving. They're all coming home, and the plane crashes in Canada.
Yeah.
Kills, 200 of them? Yeah. Somewhere around there, 101st Airborne. You had the space shuttle was huge. That was just working. Mm-hmm. And so Reagan was dealing with, that we were winning the space race against the Soviets with the space shuttle. They tried to build one and never got it in the air.
Right. And the Iran-Iraq war was going on, 1980 to 88.
Yep. And we supported Iraq.
Northern Ireland, stuff going on in Northern Ireland, a lot.
Mm-hmm. So you had a mix with all the terrorist activity as well, which reminds me of another movie. If you want to have a little humor, but again, I'm a 15-year-old kid. This movie comes out, and it's Invasion USA. Chuck Norris.
Oh.
Golden Globus film. Anything that was Golden Globus production was all about us fighting terrorists and stuff. And it was Chuck Norris beating somebody, Delta Force was out, and all those movies. And they were great. But, I mean, again, like I said, it was in front of our faces all the time.
Invasion America's on Netflix.
Invasion USA.
Okay. This Invasion America is a cartoon.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it was in front of our faces all the time. And you didn't have the 24-hour news cycle, so you didn't have everybody running around on the internet and doing their stuff. And AI making stuff up, and, you had the information you had.
Classic Chuck Norris pose with the shirt open and 2 machine guns under his arms.
Yeah, the mini Uzi.
Oh, man. Yeah. Invasion USA. Mac 10s, aren't they? No, those are Uzi. Yeah, 2 Uzi.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a wild time for movies. Like, some huge movies came out in that time.
I almost feel like we're talking about the 80s, not necessarily the Cold War, but I mean...
They were hand in hand.
They all went together.
Because, our government definitely uses Hollywood as a propaganda wing to put these movies out to give the American people, some pride or like Top Gun. You think the government's not involved in that? Come on. How many people tried to go be Navy pilots after that movie came out?
Right.
Same with Red Dawn and all that stuff. Those are all...
Yeah, I mean, all of us teenagers when Red Dawn came out wanted to be insurgents and, fighting against the bad guys. We all wanted to go hide in the woods and do that.
Yeah, I wanted to be Rambo,
man. I
man.
remember that. That's
Rambo
so
and Commando and all that. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. And all of that, I mean, honestly, all of that is probably what really influenced me to join the Army to begin with.
Yeah, I think so. Me too. And that and listening to stories from my grandpa and my dad. You know.
Yeah, I was in 6th grade and I knew I was going to join the Army. I mean, I was already at that point. I mean, I knew I was going to do it.
Yeah, me too. So, anything else we need to talk about the Soviet Union or the Cold War? I think we kind of hit everything.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I'm sure there's something we're missing.
we could always do a deeper dive
Yeah.
on it. You know, that was kind of a one over the world. We didn't really get into details on stuff.
Well, I'm sure there was a lot of economic stuff that was going on, you know, with trade embargoes and with other countries who were doing business with Russia and all that kind of stuff that was probably behind the scenes, where we see it now today because of the 24-hour news cycle. We see all that stuff, but there was probably a lot of that manipulating currencies and stuff like that going on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all what's that other movie with we just watched it a month ago with the dude from Ferris Bueller. What's his name? Matthew Broderick.
Yeah.
Where he hacks into the nuclear computer. War games.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just watched that.
Again, another 80s movie.
Yeah.
See? Everything is about nuke war. We're all going to die.
Yeah. It was like, and that was an AI. That was like a computer that was, you know, running a real scenario, and he thought he was playing a game.
Uh-huh.
Like AI, man, it was crazy.
Mad Max came out.
Oh, yeah.
During that period of time.
Yeah, a lot of post-apocalyptic
Yes.
or war stuff.
Yes.
Just getting you ready.
Right. And you know what? And that's why I see kids today and they fall down crying because they bumped their elbow on the table. I'm like, you baby, you have no idea.
Well, I think that's helicopter parents more than you know. Our parents were smoking with us in the car with the windows up. They didn't care about us. Today, you know, parents nowadays are just hover over their kids.
Taking a nap underneath the rear window, up above the seat while they're driving down the road.
Yeah. I used to fight to stand on the hump. I wanted to stand on the hump in the back seat so I could look over the front seat and see through the windshield. Or we'd ride in the back of the pickup truck. And when we'd get on the highway, we'd get on I-70, my dad would say, "Lay down, it's dangerous, lay down." And we'd all be laid. He probably just didn't want the cops to pull him over. But we'd be laying in the bed of the pickup truck going 80 miles an hour down the highway.
Uh-huh.
We have a couple other notes here. You had an instance of decluttering or clearing your mind, you know, after our show, talking about that. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah. It happened yesterday. What's today?
Tuesday.
Yeah, so it happened on Monday. Yeah, yesterday.
I guess we should tell people we're recording this on Tuesday the 12th to save it because you're going to be out of town next week, so this will be released at the proper day.
Right, this is a pre-recording.
It's pre-recording, so just to let you know. That's why the dates will sound weird if you like, what? The Berlin Wall was built last week.
Right.
Okay, so
true.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
folks.
good call.
So,
so yesterday evening, I get home, and I am in my little man space downstairs, and it's so hot here and humid right now, the air conditioner never shuts off, or it'll go off and then it'll start back up in 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just like it's taking a breather and it wants to kick in again. And I just couldn't take the noise anymore downstairs in the basement there. And so I dug out my ballistic headphones that I had and put them on and drowned out the noise. And it was really nice. I mean, just all I had was me and my tinnitus.
Yeah, you and your best friend tinnitus.
and so, you know, got to listen to that, but I couldn't hear anything else, and it was very comforting, honestly. It was a nice break from all the ambient noise and the clutter of the day. And, you know, when you have that kind of vacuum system going on in your brain, you really do have a period of time where you can clear it out and you're only thinking about what you need to think about. And I do remember once dozing off and then waking back up. And then next thing I know, while I was reading through a book. My daughter comes down, and I see her in front of me, and she's yelling at me, and I take off my headphones. And she says, "Dad, we've been calling you for dinner. What are you doing?" It's like, well,
minding my own business. Why don't you try it?
Precisely what you think I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I left them out. I plan on doing it again.
Cool.
It was different.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
a good
nice.
idea. Like I said, I like to go on a bike ride and just listen to the tires on the gravel. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Just to, so it's good that we you got a chance to do that, man. We have some. Oh, we were going to talk about Washington D.C.
Yeah, we can do that.
And like the history of why D.C. is not a state, and some of the details behind. That it's a strange little area of our country. Right?
Why are we bringing it up?
Well, because it's in the news. Well, first of all, they want to become a state. There's a big push for D.C. to become a state, and that's just by people in D.C. Nobody else really wants it. And recently, crime apparently is so out of control in our nation's capital that Trump feels it's necessary to federalize the police, the D.C. police, and to activate the National Guard. Constitutionally, I guess he has the authority to do that, but it just doesn't, something about it just doesn't sit right with me.
Because it's the nation's capital.
Yeah. It's weird, man.
Yeah, and, the capital should be a place free from all of that.
Yeah, you would hope so.
I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
January 6th, that event was probably the last time that, kind of went nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Washington, D.C., so we had a brand new country called the United States, 1789, ratified Constitution, and everyone agreed that we needed, actually it was part of the Constitution, to have a area for the nation's capital.
Right.
And I want to say the land was George Washington's, or it was somewhere in the state of Virginia. But this land was donated, and it borders Virginia, Maryland, and that's where Washington, D.C. was founded. And 1789, it was creation of a federal district under exclusive jurisdiction of the U.S. Congress. So it's not a state, and the U.S. Congress controls it, but it was designated that way just for the federal government to function. So you didn't have state allegiances and things like that. It was a free and clear.
Yeah. So you had the Residence Act of 1790, and it authorized the creation of a federal district on the Potomac River. The land was ceded by the states of Maryland and Virginia, and George Washington was tasked with selecting the exact site for the capital, but he did not donate the land.
I believe he was one of the big designers of the way the city looks today.
Yeah, him and all his Freemason buddies.
The map, yeah. So you had that, and then that was all well and good until, let's see, where am I in my little notes here? I'll just jump forward.
Okay.
It was under, I'm just lost here. Where am I? It was under Eisenhower. Eisenhower actually supported the creation of Go ahead. I lost my notes.
Pierre Charles L'Enfant, whatever. He was the engineer, French-born American engineer, an architect, and urban planner. He was hired by George Washington in 1791 to create the fundamental plan for the new federal city. His design featured a grid system of wide avenues intersecting at right angles with diagonal avenues, creating a unique pattern of circles and spokes intended to provide order, grandeur, and open space. His plan, which included the placement of key landmarks like the White House and Capitol, was based on European urban planning traditions, particularly the grand boulevards of Paris.
Are you quoting something?
I'm just reading off the internet.
Okay.
What do you think I brought? Just took that out of my mind?
I thought you were plagiarizing or something. Just, making sure.
No, I'm just reading whatever the internet gave me.
So it was back in 1973. So that's under Nixon, I think. That's when they created a mayor and a 13-member council.
So traditionally, it was just a district that
was controlled by Congress. I'm sure they had a representative who had the responsibilities of different things, designated, hey, you're in charge.
Yeah, like a mayor, probably.
It's your additional duty.
Okay.
Kind of deal. But then it was backing up a couple of years, 1970, under Nixon, that they authorized a single non-voting member in the House of Representatives. And this is how, you give somebody something, they always want something more.
Yeah.
So you had this non-voting member of the House of Representatives. That way they had some kind of representative who can, be that person who had a voice for...
Can't tax them without representation, right?
Well, you had 600,000 people living in D.C. So he was the voice and the representative unofficially for that. But then after that, that's when the 23rd Amendment of the Constitution authorized that and to give them 3 electoral votes.
Terrible mistake.
For presidential elections.
Yeah.
And at the time when it was supported by everybody, it wasn't necessarily considered to be a biased thing one way or the other. Yeah. Although if you go back through every presidential election since that started, in every election but two, it all went to the Democrats. Always went to the Democrats. They always got 3 electoral votes, but it was never enough to make a difference on an election. However, so I can have a mayor, I can have a representative. Now I get electoral votes, and all of a sudden they want statehood.
Yeah, they're going to mess up our flag, man.
So they actually filed, because it's a constitutional amendment for statehood. They did it in 1978. They didn't get enough people to approve it, so it died in 1985. But then in 2021, tried again. The House of Representatives passed it. The Senate voted it down, and it didn't get anywhere. But they're always trying to push for statehood. And why would they, Matt? Why would they push for statehood?
Probably that government money. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you already given them 3 electoral votes,
well, then you'll have a governor, right?
Well, no, you'll have a voting representative.
Yeah, true.
2 senators,
and that'll flip. That'll just give you more Democrats in Congress. Always.
You're giving them a buffer.
And then you would have a governor also fighting against the president in the backyard of the White House, basically.
Yeah, it doesn't. And again, Washington, D.C. was created to be non-biased and independent and do nothing but represent the United States as a whole and focus on the country as a whole, governing the country, not having all this power play in between.
It belongs to all of us.
Yes.
It's a place where any American can go and, address their grievances, protest, go see a monument, see these, museums, see the history, and it's ours, just like the national parks. It's ours. And, they're trying to take it from us.
Yep. And if you got a lot of crime, then get rid of it. I'm going back to the police deal. if you have a police department unwilling to enforce the laws, especially in the nation's capital, where you know it's going to be nothing but tourists, then you need to step in and do something.
Yeah. Is bringing in the National Guard the answer? I mean,
Well,
they've done it before.
Electing a different mayor ain't going to work.
No.
And you got a police chief who doesn't even know what a chain of command is. Did you read that story today?
No.
When asked about the chain of command, she had no idea what they meant by chain of command.
Oh, boy.
There's your police force.
Yeah. Yeah, so what's to be done? So federalizing the police, does that, I was asking today, like, does that make them all U.S. Marshals? Are they all, what is the deal?
If you federalize the police here in Missouri, in St. Louis, I think it's different than federalizing them in Washington, D.C., because, again, they're not a state.
Right.
So...
Yeah, I think when Trump came out and he's like, they got a lot of problems in L.A. and Chicago, too. We're looking at New York, and it's like, bro, slow your roll.
Yeah.
Like, maybe he's just saying that to take the heat off D.C., maybe. But I don't like it, dude. I just don't. I didn't like it when they used the 82nd Airborne down in Louisiana after Katrina. I didn't like that. And I didn't like them putting the Marines
Well,
in
you didn't
LA.
even have a police force after Katrina down there in Louisiana, and you had looting, so you had to do something.
Yeah. So to place a local police force under the control of the federal government, typically through executive action or specific legal provinces.
So,
that's what federalizing the police
So
is.
again, it's recent history, because you didn't even have civilian representation or in a civilian administration in Washington, D.C. until the 70s.
Right.
So, you're
It's
going to federalize the police in Washington, D.C., go for it.
Yeah. If anywhere in this country you were going to do it, that would be the place to do it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think...
And maybe this is, we had our fun, we tried it out, it didn't work, and how about we go back to the way our founding fathers set it up and run D.C.?
Yeah, duels on the front lawn of the White House, right?
And you put Congress back in charge of D.C., and you take out all the civilian administration. Doge it out, just like everything else, and put it back on Congress, and then have, whatever your police force is there.
They don't have anything much to do now. That's why they keep meddling in our lives. They should be running D.C.
I think we make it highly political because it makes good headlines, and all it does is get all the liberals out there to go, see, Trump's an idiot.
He's a Nazi.
He's out here to take over the country, and you know what? How about we just, at least one time, why don't you let him stick his neck out?
Yeah, and plus another thing people don't realize is almost every single police and sheriff's department in this country is federalized. Almost every single one. I guarantee it has an FBI task force, a DEA task force, all this kind of crap going on where the federal government is deeply involved in the operation of your local police department.
And we all know that by their training.
Yep, their gear.
Their gear, their equipment,
they're all militarized.
their automobiles.
Yeah.
They're all the same.
They're all the same. They get grants from the federal government for their radios and their body armor.
In
they wouldn't get
exchange
those
for
grants. Cooperation.
Yes.
And so, like these, what do they call those centers where it's like a, what do they call it? Can't remember. Like a heat center. Something like a big joint police operations center. Those are all built by the federal government, and they're built for the feds to come in to help operate that, to help, in quotes.
I think one at some level, I don't know what level you would put it at, just opened in the city of O'Fallon.
It did?
Yeah.
So there you go, folks. If you want to whine and cry about him federalizing the D.C. police, go to your local police department and protest them.
But here's the deal. Instead of protesting, why don't you do the smart thing and say, you know what, I support you, President Trump. I want you to federalize the police in Washington, D.C. and clean house, and I'm going to give you everything you need, and then when he fails, then you can win your argument. You're not going to win your argument ahead of time. And right now you're just arguing to argue.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. it makes me say, like, wait, what the heck is going on here? Let me look into this deeper to see what really is going to happen with federalizing the, whatever, or calling in the National Guard.
And it's not new. It goes all the way back. I mean, we did it with JFK, with desegregation. It goes back before that when the U.S. Army was called in to take out all the World War I vets who wanted their pensions during the Great Depression.
Yeah, the Whiskey Rebellion.
The Whiskey Rebellion was the first.
Washington led the militia to go get the tax money.
But that wasn't a federalized police deal.
No, but that was
so,
just straight up tyranny.
You had the L.A. riots in the 90s under GW.
Marines and National Guard.
You had that going on. So, I mean, it's not a new precedent. It's precedent's already been set.
Yeah. Everybody's just screaming louder because it's Trump doing it.
Yeah. What we need to be cognizant of and pay attention to is how routine it becomes, because then it can become so routine that you don't pay attention to it until it's too late.
I think it's already too late. I think the police are militarized, and it's us versus them. That's their mentality they have. And
all I got to do is watch their tactics for clearing buildings, right? Ooh, I wonder who taught them that.
Yeah, where'd you learn that, buddy? I think, personally, I have a personal opinion. I don't think any veteran should be a police officer. I think, well, I'm not going to say my full opinion, but I don't think you should.
There's also a school of thought that says if you're in the military, you're not allowed to vote.
Yeah, that would be all right. I don't know. There's a lot of dummies in the military.
So,
I mean, we had to teach guys how to shower sometimes.
A lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the end of my notes, man, of what we decided we wanted to talk about. Anything else on your mind? Oh.
Well, we brought a cool bourbon.
Yeah, how about this bourbon? You brought it.
So this week's choice is Blade and Bow. Let's see. Hang on. Let me get the label. Blade and Bow Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And it's 91 proof. And this was an interesting bourbon. Not interesting is not the word. Unique. It's unique in how they age it, and it's unique in their presentation for it, and that's probably what makes it special.
It tasted blended to me. Is it blended?
It is. It's mentioned it's blended, but it's not necessarily what you think on it.
Okay. All right.
So let me back up.
Yeah, go ahead and continue with your train. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool.
You said they age it a unique way?
Yeah. So Blade and Bow is from the Stitzel and Weller Distilling Company, but it's owned by Diageo. I don't know. Yeah. Let's just say Diageo. But Stitzel Weller was a distilling company that opened back in 1935, right after Prohibition, and it shut down back in 1992 or 94, 92 or 94, somewhere around there. And then it was bought and reopened by this Diageo company in 2014. And the funny thing is the bourbon we drink today from Blade and Bow still has bits of the original bourbon from the company when it closed down back in 1992.
So they have like a huge stash of it?
Well, so their aging process is what they call Solera aging process.
Okay.
And so with the Solera aging process, it's kind of like a pyramid deal where they don't allow a barrel to completely empty out.
Oh.
And then they blend and they keep adding more to it. So you're always going to get a bit of what was there before in it.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and so it goes back. So the Solera way to age goes way back, and it's usually done for sherries and ports, Madeiras, cognacs, in which you have this pyramid way of doing bourbon, and in this particular case, they're aged in 20-year-old Oloroso sherry casks. And then, so they would take a little bit out of, small portion out of a barrel periodically, and then the lowest tiers, and move it to a different one. So you're always circulating through the originals, but never actually emptying one out. And then, so no barrel is ever emptied, and over time, the older whiskey in the Solera mingles with the younger to create the unmatched depth and complexity.
You would think this would be much darker in color then, for some reason. That, like, logically,
Well, again, they're mixing with newer stuff.
So it must not be. It's not 50-50.
Right. There's no age on. There's no age statement on it. I couldn't find one.
Well, yeah.
So
how could you age it though? Right.
Right. Exactly.
Huh. Interesting. And do they just keep using the same barrels until they're unusable, and then I guess they throw one in there?
Good point. I don't know.
Because how many times could you run whiskey through a barrel before it's just leaking all over the place?
Well, I guess at that point you add another one.
Yeah.
Not really sure. That's a good point.
Huh.
I didn't get that much detail.
So are all Stitzelweller products done that way?
I am not sure.
Because there's the bourbon Weller, right?
Yeah, and they're known for Old Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
So, that's some of the ones that are coming out of there.
Huh.
So it does make it a little different. And I think it showed a little bit in, what you and I were coming up with, because you get that mingling.
Yeah, it's a strange circle, strange looking little thing here. So this is made in Louisville, Kentucky, about $45 a barrel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to break the bank. Smelling it, for some reason, the first thing that popped in my mind was celery. I don't know why. But now I'm getting, as it's sat in my glass this whole episode.
Right.
I've had the same pour in my glass. I'm getting more of the spices coming, but it's not like Buffalo Trace when we tasted that. It's, that's whiskey. This is like, is this Scotch?
Well,
is
see, that's
bourbon?
the thing, because when we tasted the Buffalo Trace, I thought it was very subtle. I was having a hard time with it.
Yeah.
Where, I was getting a little bit better out of this, and one of the things that came to mind was maple syrup for me on the nose.
Okay. Yeah, I wrote grassy celery. Like, I'm getting more wood.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When it comes to the taste, oddly enough, I'm leaning towards in between that oak and cedar line on there, and kind of reminded like a Fig Newton bar.
Oh, okay.
And then the other typical classic bourbon profiles, which are all included, and I'm just not going to mention them.
Yeah, I wrote down surprisingly sweet, and I was basing that off of what I was smelling and what I was seeing in the glass. And then I tasted it, and I was like, wow, that's just sweeter than I expected. What did you think about the finish?
Similar, when you're talking about the surprisingly sweet, for me it was like a spicy sweet finish.
Yeah.
A bit of corn came out for me, and orange, like an orange rind.
Yeah, like the bitterness of it. I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very pleasant.
And it's a 91 proof, so it's not overpowering, not burning your nose when you smell it or anything.
No, it's a good drinker.
It's honey color in the bottle, but when you pour it out, it's more straw colored in the glass, I guess. And, the high points for me were linger, woody, spicy, and that's about it. Everything else was kind of mid-range. And I did not get that citrus fruit, that orange rind bitterness until just now. So not at first, when it was first poured, I didn't get it, but now I am.
One other point about Blade & Bow. So Blade & Bow is also known, they have this, I would call it a marketing gimmick. Mm-hmm. Blanton's has the horse on top of the bottle, right? The bottle top. And every position of the horse in motion has its own unique letter.
Oh, okay.
And so over the course of a year, you can spell out the word Blanton, and there are more of some, harder to get others. And so people are online trying to trade these things all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. So Blade & Bow does something similar. They have a key, looks like a skeleton key.
Yeah.
This one is actually key number 3 that we're drinking. I did have someone provide key number 5 to me once. So I have 3 and 5. And I'm going to take this right from the website, what this all means. So the origins of the Blade & Bow name, it represents the 2 parts of a skeleton key, the blade, shaft, and the ornate bow.
Oh.
And the Blade & Bow brand is a tribute to the 5 keys that once hung on the door of the Stitzelweller Distillery, which stands for the 5 steps of making bourbon. So step 1 is grains, step 2 is yeast, step 3 is fermentation, 4 is distillation, and step 5 is aging. And then they age it by the Solera aging method. So you're getting 5 different keys. They come out at different periods of the year, key 1 through key 5. And it's my understanding that key 5 is the hardest one to get. Just about anybody can get key 1 through 4. And so I do have a key 5 at home. And the bourbons are the same. I can't tell the difference between them.
Okay.
And, maybe that they're picked out through these barrels. Maybe if I had a flight of them, 1 to 5 or even 1 to 3, to see what they taste differently.
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty good, I would imagine.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool. I got this little skeleton key thing that hangs on my bottle.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of them now. So, yeah, that's kind of, again, it's a marketing gimmick. If you want to spend $45, which you spent 1.75 liters last week for Buffalo Trace, $45, or you get the standard 750 milliliter.
Would you drink this every day? Could you drink it every day?
I could.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think it's a little too sweet for me.
Yeah.
But on occasion, it would be really good.
It is sweet,
I wonder if we should smoke cigars with these too. Pick up another bad habit.
I don't know what your wife will say to that.
Look, man, I'm the man of the house.
Okay, let's do it. Light them up. I'm bringing them tomorrow.
That's why I'm hiding in the basement doing my podcast.
So yeah,
good. That was a good choice to bring today.
it's got
I'm
good
still
history.
trying to wrap my mind around it, because I'm tasting different things as I sit here. It's a unique bourbon, man.
It is. I mean, I saw some odd things when I was doing some quick notes because I like to see what other people think. Some people were saying roasted walnut, candied fruit, spicy rye, fig. I was seeing things like vanilla, again, sweet, again, leather, hint of leather.
Hint of leather.
Yeah, I think that's just people trying to sound special.
Yeah.
A dash of spice. I mean, they're like, these people that are writing this stuff, they sound like Julia Child,
Yeah.
trying to bake something. And I don't know. I mean,
How many stars? Where are you going?
no, I give it a solid 3.
3?
Yeah.
Okay, me too. That's what I did. And you're a tougher grader than me.
That's a good 3. It's a good drinker.
Well, anything else on your mind, Kevin? You're going to enjoy your vacation. You're going to. Do you want to tell everybody where you're going?
I'm headed to Charleston, South Carolina, and I can't wait.
But your house is not going to be empty. Don't think
No.
you could just go to the house and.
It's got to be full of people. Probably more people when I'm gone than when I'm there.
So you're going to Charleston.
Going to Charleston. Can't wait. Hang out at the beach. Go to some cool restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the Hundley submarine while I'm there.
Yeah, I hope they have it open. Like sometimes it's.
Well, they built a museum over it now.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's completely
look
enclosed,
down onto
and
it.
it's a regular museum. You go in.
Yeah, when I
there's-
was there, it was like a warehouse, and you're just walking right next to the tank where it's at, and you
Yeah.
get like really
Well,
close
and
to
it might be the same location.
Yeah.
They've just
Just built
upgraded.
around
They
it.
just keep making it better.
Yeah.
And what piqued my interest with the Hunley, and it just never occurred to me that it was there. This is going to be my 5th visit there.
Yeah.
Because the last time I was there 2 years ago, I went to a cemetery, and then it was the one that had the whole Hunley crew.
Yeah, the sailors are buried
And I went,
there.
oh, the Hunley.
Yeah.
Oh, where they could still fly a Confederate flag.
Yep.
Surprised nobody's tearing them down yet.
Oh, yeah, it would be trouble. But yeah, they pulled it right out of the Charleston Harbor. They found it when they were dredging the harbor.
They did.
And the story of their mission is pretty wild, of what they were doing.
Well, technically, it's the first torpedo kill ever by a submarine.
Yeah.
Sunk a Union ship with a submarine.
And it was like a ram. They rammed the ship and then backed up, and it was like a harpoon, the torpedo to the ship, the bomb.
So first official kill. Again, United States innovating warfare.
Leading the way when it comes to killing people. Yeah, it's a neat piece of history to see. Charleston is South Carolina in general is just full of our nation's beginning history.
Yeah. One of the things I like about Charleston, it's one of the very few cities that survived the Civil War.
Yeah.
Because when the Union Army was coming in, they rushed out to the Union Army and says, "We're an open city. Just come on in. We're not going to fight you."
Yeah.
And they survived the burning, like you got with Atlanta and everywhere else.
Columbia was burned.
Yeah. And so a lot of the original architecture, other than a hurricane occasionally, is still there. It's just amazing.
There was I worked on a project. I was doing finished carpentry as a side job, and I was a firefighter. And these guys had bought timbers from an old house that was being taken apart down there, and brought them up to Columbia to do exposed beams on their house with these big trusses that they took out. I don't know what they're trusses, beams.
I'm actually surprised by that, because they really fight to maintain the historical significance of all the construction down there.
Well, I think it was a house that was it was like so dilapidated they had to take it down.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised they didn't separate it out for other construction or renovation down there.
Yeah, I don't know how these guys got it. Maybe they stole it, but
they
the ends of these beams, they're massive. You could see the axe marks where they were the dovetails were made by hand with an axe, and these dudes cut the ends off and threw them in the dumpster, and then put the beams up in their house. And so I went dumpster diving and grabbed a bunch of those ends and took them. It was like a 200 plus year old cypress tree is what these were made out of. I counted the rings one time, and the wood is perfect condition because cypress, it doesn't rot. It has like a natural anti-insect property. But just the history is really, really cool. Yeah. Go see Fort Sumter. You're going to go do that, right?
Yep. It's
kind of underwhelming when you go out there. You're like, oh, well,
yeah, I don't care. I haven't been there yet.
But it's cool. You got to go.
I've been everywhere else except those two things.
You don't get a lot of time because your ferry drops you off, and then you have to get back on your same ferry. Can't wait around for the next one.
That's okay. Fort Sumter ain't that big.
It's not. You can see everything. But it's cool. You can stand there and look where the first shots were fired, And
we walk around Battery Park, which artillery battery. That's where they fired their shots from the shore out there, and they still have a lot of the artillery pieces sitting out there, the mortars and things like that. So
yeah, they take good care of it too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Anyway,
all right. Enjoy yourself. Safe travels.
Thank you. How can people reach us, Matt?
People can get us on Facebook, on Twitter, or X. Are we still calling it Twitter? I think everybody just calls it Twitter,
X.
Right? X. And we're on YouTube. So if you just search for the Headspace and Tasting Podcast on any of those, you'll find us. You can subscribe on YouTube. Then what do you got to do? You got to like it. Then you subscribe it. And then you got to hit the notification bell. So when a new episode comes out, it'll notify you. And just share it with all your friends. If people are interested in bourbon or any of the topics that we're talking about, we're going to have our friend Pete come back on, finish his story. Dave's coming back soon. We're going to have our Katy Trail Expeditions show.
Yep.
A lot of big stuff coming in the future. And we are going to continue to chronicle Global War on Terror veterans and get their stories out there. And,
right.
I think
whenever we can.
We feel motivated to do. So
love to hear your comments.
Yeah. If you want to donate a bottle or you want to come on the show, you got a story to tell, you can email us at showmemk@gmail.com. and we will respond.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Have a great one, folks.
You too. Peace out.
Bye.